This is Tommy's Outdoors 65. I wanted to record an episode about hiking for a long time, especially like a serious multi-day hiking. So I was really chuffed to have an opportunity to talk with Victoria Livschitz about multi-day backpacking. Victoria is an incredible lady. She's a serial tech entrepreneur in Silicon Valley, so you all probably can imagine that means pretty hectic lifestyle. She managed to transform her life after discovering multi-day backpacking. So in this episode, Victoria will walk us through her journey from stressed, busy, out-of-shape newbie to conqueror of major trails. She's also gonna share a few tips and tricks, both for beginners or people who just want to start with backpacking. But I'm also sure that more advanced backpackers will find something useful in that episode. So, ladies and gentlemen, multi-day backpacking with Victoria Livschitz, just after this short message. I want to ask you a favor. To help me with the podcast, please leave a 5-star rating on the app or the website where you are listening to me right now. And if you want to go the extra mile and help me even more, leave a review. And now, please enjoy this episode of Tommy's Outdoors. Victoria, welcome to Tommy's Outdoors. It's a pleasure to have you on the show.
Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome. Listen, the first time I heard about you, it sparked my interest because you are a very busy person. You're a serial entrepreneur, and then you developed this passion for multi-day backpacking trips. Tell us, like, how did that happen? Was it like a need of kind of going away from the busy life, or was it something else that something was kind of you felt like something is missing?
Oh gosh, I got so lucky to discover backpacking. That was my salvation.
Mm,
Yeah, it's actually a fairly recent discovery. I have
hmm.
started backpacking about 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And I was at the point in my life where I have, I've been sort of crashed and burned from just all the, I guess, accumulated stress of
Mm,
running businesses, raising kids, see my marriage
mm,
sort of, fall apart, trying to rebuild from there. Coming off finishing one of my entrepreneurial ventures,
mhm.
struggling to make another one take off, and it was just a lot. And I
Yeah.
was looking for a while actually for something to do to take my mind off of work and off of tech, also to get more fit, lose weight. And I tried gym and I tried this and I tried that. None of it really sticked. And then completely by accident, I have heard about three of my much younger friends
Mhm.
excitedly babbling about John Muir Trail, and I didn't know anything
Yeah.
about that, and so I just got curious about what they were so excited about, and turns out that they just won a permit to go and hike John Muir Trail in the next few months in the upcoming summer. And
Yeah.
I got curious and learned that John Muir Trail is this iconic long distance high Sierra 211-mile route, and permits are extremely difficult to find, and they were able to secure one. There were permit for four. There's three of them, and they were looking for the fourth partner. And I was like, wow,
Right.
so what am I gonna do? And then I learned that they're gonna go take 2 weeks off, 16 days, and they're gonna, put on their backpacks and disappear from civilization for essentially 16 days. And that all sounded just absolutely fascinating. And nobody was looking to recruit me.
Uh-huh.
I was complete couch potato. I have not probably walked 10 miles in the previous 10 years.
Oh God.
But I'm a sucker for kind of impossible. And this seemed like a completely impossible thing. I think they were off their rockets.
Yeah.
And that fascinated me. And I started reading about John Muir Trail, and I started reading about backpacking. And then I kind of begged them to let me be the fourth one. And they asked very politely, Victoria, do you know what you're getting into? I said, I actually have no bloody idea.
That's the best start. What you getting into? I have no idea, but I'm in. I love it.
Right. Exactly. And so they said, okay, so here's the deal. We have 5 months to go. If you feel so strongly about this, take up a couple of months to train, and then we're going to go at the end of May to like a training hike. And if you think that you could do it and we could see that you are, you can do it, then you can be on the team. And I said, all right. And then that's my passion for backpacking was born. Well, I started trying to climb like everything that I could see every weekend, every Saturday, every Sunday, time after work. I would try to climb some hills. I felt horrible at first, but the amazing thing about us, we're so adaptable. Soon enough, I started making progress, climbing bigger hills, making some distance, carrying better weight, passed my test 2 months, into it, and I was, accepted in a crew, so to speak. And then, my first real backpacking.
Was it like a sort of a formal test? Sorry, was it like a sort of a formal test that or was it just like a casual? These guys would say like, "Hey, let's go for a hike."
Four of us went on a day hike. It was fairly intense.
Okay.
We had to make, I think, something like 12 miles with quite a bit of elevation change and like full backpacks. And I could keep up with like reasonable speed, and that was the test.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And then I proceeded to join them to hike John Muir Trail, and it was truly a completely transformative experience. I think I came back, quite a different person, and it changed. It changed a lot of perspectives for me.
Did you have any problems in fitting that training in your busy schedule? Because I presume. I kind of know from the experience, my own experience, and other people that I know, that often the biggest obstacle for people who are have such a busy lifestyle is that once they get into their day off or once they get into their weekend, they're absolutely spent after the whole day, and the last thing they want to do, they want to go into some sort of a physical activity. Was that difficult to kind of get yourself going, and instead of the usual sitting around and watching TV kind of because it's a kind of dramatic change, right? That's this training that you're describing.
It certainly had been. Well. In my case, first of all, I do have obsessive personality, and if I get into something, I get into something. It's like full, all. And so I unfortunately don't have a concept of a hobby. Anytime I try to take on a hobby, it's very, very quickly turned into, this fairly obsessive thing. And the time was right. And, I started hiking, and it just felt so right, and it felt so good that I wanted to do, more of it. And so I've been, quite busy. I'm always busy. It wasn't really competing with TV. At this point in time, I have not had TV in my house probably at least for maybe 10 or 15 years.
Yes. I'm glad to hear that I'm not the only weirdo without a TV. Do you get this when you tell people that you don't have a TV? They go like, "What? How can this?" Like, yes. Since I moved from my parents' house, which was like, I don't know, 20 years ago, I never had a TV anywhere where I lived. And people like, "What you doing with your free time?" I was like, "Trust me, I have too little free time. I'm always busy."
It definitely didn't compete with leisure. It competed with work, and thanks goodness it won. I think first time in my life I started to have perspective that there is life, and it literally the notion of work-life balance. Go balance it. Really, first time on a forefront. I was a little bit lucky also. Well, I was the fresh empty nesters. Kids have I have 3 kids, and I have grown
Hmm.
up enough that the youngest left for college, and so I have
Hmm.
a lot more time with all that going on.
Right, right. Okay, so and I suppose this is it, that with such a busy lifestyle, then you kind of let in something new. And Victoria, I'm telling you, people who have these obsessive, like I said, obsessive personalities, these are people who most often kind of getting the best results because of that drive, because of like, yeah, I'm gonna be doing, and I totally get it, because I kind of like similar to you. There's like, if there's something that interests me, I go completely mad about it, and it's like, no, I'm just
Yeah,
doing.
yeah, you have to contrast it with like what Victoria's lifestyle was up until that moment. And what it was is that for many years, as I was building my business, I ran on 3.5 hours of sleep a night for like years and years.
Oh, god damn, that's bad.
Oh, it's terrible. Oh, it's terrible. Take from the authority on sleep deprivation. Like, don't do that.
Hmm.
Um,
Yep.
and so it was by then I kind of knew that I needed a better balance and better perspective and something else in my life, and I just was surprised to discover that mountains was it. And as I was preparing for John Muir Trail, there was a very simple driver, and that was like survival. Okay, I sign up for
Yeah.
this thing. Now I have like 5 months to make it alive.
Yes.
And
Yes.
that's a pretty good motivator. But when I came back, I had a completely different motivation. From that point forward, backpacking and spending time outdoors became a big part of my life, and I've learned to incorporate it so that it coexists with my
Hmm.
my other interests and my career. But I think
Yes.
now it's not so much survival driven; it's driven by many other things. I want to become
Hmm.
confident in my outdoor skills. I want to take
Hmm.
bigger and bigger and more ambitious projects, and it's just a joy of learning. I think
Yeah.
is yeah, both learning the new skills and then going on these amazing adventures. I've been in
Yeah.
hiking Patagonia, Peru, climbed Kilimanjaro, spent
Wow.
quite a bit of time in Sierra Nevada, Colorado, Arizona, and there's just those are
And in
literally.
how many years it took you to achieve all those to visit all those trails that you just mentioned?
Well, I'm
How
still
long?
newbie. It's been only, like I said, less than 3 years since I heard
Less
about.
than 3 years.
Yeah, I think I heard about Jet
Wow.
Trail around like April 1st, 3 years ago. That kind of entered my life.
Uh-huh.
Not that long.
Yeah. Wow, wow. So, and listen, is it like multi-day backpacks? Is this the thing, or are you also enjoying like like a one-day hike or day hike somewhere, or is it only something that you treat as training of sorts, and only those multi-day backpacking trips are like really air quotes proper ones?
Well, I do enjoy hiking. I do enjoy day hiking. I do quite a bit of that. Some of it is just pick up my dog and
Hmm.
go disappear for a few hours. Some of it for training. Some of it's great time with friends.
Hmm.
But in the greater scheme of things, it's really kind of disappearing from the society, and it's almost like I always have this I don't know, metaphor. There's kind of a normal life, if you will, social
Hmm.
life,
Hmm.
and then there's trail life. Those are two
Uh-huh.
completely different universes. And like a parking lot at the trailhead is like a portal, and you arrived
Yeah.
at that port, and you are your normal like social city bound self, and then
Hmm.
you get out of that car, all dressed up in a trail attire, and you put on your backpack, and close the car, and you step on the trail, and you walk through the portal, and now you're in a completely different land, governed by completely different rules and laws, and now you're in this magical experience, and eventually you have to come back, and you walk through the same portal, and you turn back into civilian, and that's
Hmm.
sort of my way of thinking about it, and I just love this trail life.
Yes. And is it like a sense of community of people who doing the similar thing, or is it more of just being in nature itself?
I think it's a little bit of both. A fair amount of backpacking I do would be with others. Some of it with
Mhm.
my very close friends. The three people that I joined have become very, very close friends of mine. One had been,
Mhm.
the other two I kind of met in that process, and we're all four very close friends now, and we backpack regularly.
Mhm.
There is other people that I backpack with. Sometimes I join other groups, but I also spend fair amount hiking solo,
Oh,
and I love that experience as well.
right, right. Um, so tell me, if someone is listening to this right now and they go like, well, I would love to try, I would love to start, and they're kind of can identify with a busy lifestyle, and I need something that sounds perfect, but perhaps they don't have, such a driven personality. What would be advice for them, like from you? And the question is very broad, because starting from, what advice would you give in the sense of kind of like mental process almost, down to what exercises you do, what you do, how you get your body to the point where you can take on some bigger challenges.
Well, this question is perfect, and it's perfect for two reasons. Number one, kind of having gone through this extremely steep learning curve in changing physical shape. I've lost well over 40 pounds in
Wow.
this 2.5 years, and becoming as fit as I've ever been in my life. Although hopefully more better stuff to come. Tuning my gear from something that was my base weight on John Muir Trail, I think was around 25 pounds, and
Mhm.
now the same trip it will be less than 7. Uh, and then just acquiring a lot of skills. I've learned it on a very condensed learning curve, which I was very lucky to
Mhm.
do for two reasons. Number one, there were people who would teach me, and those were my friends, and I could join them. I really sort of crushed their
Yes.
party. And if that wasn't the case, then it would be a lot harder for me to figure out really which end is up. Um, I
Yes.
walked their adventure. If I had to start planning, my own adventure from scratch, I wouldn't know, and I never. Simply never would have happened. And the other, like I said, this obsessive personality, it's not for everyone, and may not be the, frankly, the best way to acquire something like that. So there's definitely a way to pace yourself. And if I, were giving advice to others, which I do all the time, because I turn into kind of, I don't know, evangelist of sort for the
Mhm.
importance of spending time outdoors, and diversifying your life experiences, if you will, with
Mhm.
something as authentic and amazing and transformative as backpacking. I certainly would not recommend John Muir Trail as your very first hike. There are many ways to kind of what do they say, crawl, walk, run, acquire
Mhm.
skills in a much more graceful and reasonable scale. And I'm happy to share some advice and perspective. But I also want to say that this led me to yet another place. I'm a serial entrepreneur. Over the years, I started a number of different companies, and they were different companies, and at every stage of my life, I started altogether 8 companies over the years.
Wow.
And they've kind of reflected what I was into, right, at that stage of my life. My
Mhm.
very first business was actually a professional chess academy, of all things. And then my previous
So
company, that's
say it again.
that's the
It,
one
it
that's
it it cut you off for a second.
sure.
I think
Yeah,
I think we have a delay
where do I
in
start?
our conversation. What was your first business that you started? The first company?
Yeah, so the very first company that I started was actually a professional chess academy, of all things.
Wow.
Um,
Wow.
yes. We've built me and and my husband at the time. We were both professional chess players and coaches, and we
Wow.
just came to the United States. I was 20. I had a 2.5 months old daughter. We somehow needed to settle in this country. And it was 1991. The recession was just terrible. I needed to go to school, but we also needed to make money. So we started a chess school, chess academy, and it made it all right. So that was like my first experience running a business. And since that time, there were other companies, and my the last company have become pretty big. We're actually at the verge, within the next few, very, very soon, we should go public.
Wow.
So at least one of the companies that I started kind of came a long way.
Very good.
But ever since, hiking and backpacking,
Which speaks to the amount of stress and overall busyness that you had in your life, right? It's not something that comes lightly to bring the company to this size.
This is classic Silicon Valley: starting companies, funding companies, dealing with VCs, dealing with partners, dealing with customers, trying to raise 3 kids. All the ups and downs and trials and tribulations, all this very much, adds up to both a fair amount of success, which is important to have in life, but also a good deal of stress that comes along.
Right.
And so it kind of brings us to this passion of mine, which is largely about spending time outdoors and largely about kind of evangelizing the importance of these kinds of experience in everyday lives of normal humans, and it kind of led me to this idea that perhaps there is a way to help other folks remove that barrier. I ended up starting a company around this. That my
surprise, right?
usually my answer to like all world's problems. Oh well, you can start a company that can do that. and yeah, 2 years ago, me and my friends that are my hiking buddies, the people that hike GMT with me, who very much share the same passion and same values and same sense of purpose. We said, listen, we all learn about that late in life, and we learned it recently, and we it's all very fresh in our minds. We think that we can package that experience for somebody in a set of services, and really significantly lower barrier that it takes for somebody to start enjoying the outdoors. And so the concept of Right on Track was born, and we are very close, probably, hopefully like a month away from bringing to market what we call all-inclusive backpacking vacations.
Wow. Very good.
Yeah.
Tell me about it. How does it work? I obviously browse, so for our listeners, it's rightontrack.com. And yeah, so please tell us about what's the idea and how it works.
Yeah, so if you go there now, you'll find some set of services, but we haven't launched all-inclusive backpacking vacations yet. That's slotted in April, so really soon. We are working really, really hard on less finishing touches. But the idea is to really open access to outdoors, great national parks, to literally everyone. People of all ages and abilities, and lots of people enjoy outdoors. Lots of people go on day hikes. Lots of people visit national parks. But there is a big difference between, let's say, standing at the rim of the Great Canyon, looking down and saying, "Wow, this is incredible," and then saying, "Hey, I actually have 3 days. Why don't I actually go down there? Why don't I go down to the Great Canyon, right? Set up the camp, sleep under the stars, and
this is this thing, right? That this is where that experience changes from just I hop off the car and just go somewhere and come back, where you really never have an opportunity to fully detach from your day-to-day life, and this is different when you're actually going in. And I think, I don't know if you agree with that, but I think that first day in the morning, you wake up and you have like this half day or day already behind you, and you have this whole day, and this is where it's like different mind frame almost.
Different mind frame for sure, but it's just a sense of discovery, just sense of wonder, what actually means to walk down Great Canyon step by step, switch by switchback, and actually see and feel how descending down kind of cuts through this, 3,000 feet of stone wall, and then working hard to, get yourself up, on a day 2 and a day 3, and feeling this incredible sense of accomplishment when you are back at the rim, looking down in complete disbelief that that's where I had been. This is what I just have done. So to me, this just brings things together. It's discovery, it's wonder, it's seeing things and places you will never see before, otherwise, and challenge yourself and overcome all these, frankly, challenges and complexities, and feeling like such a winner from all that. That's all part of it. And I do believe that absolutely anybody can do that, maybe with a little bit of help. So be it Great Canyon or Yellowstone Park, you can go and see the animals and touch the animals. But now, how about you actually put on the backpack and you go walk through the geysers and you sleep right under the stars, or Yosemite, or or any of the other wonders. And I'm talking about U.S. in general, but absolutely same applies to fantastic trails in Europe or Latin America or Azure. So yeah, Right on Track aims to simplify all that. We are going to launch around just American trails. Actually, 2020, we're going to focus on California, Sierra Nevada. And if that goes well, then start going after other national parks. But the idea literally is, okay, so you say, oh, wouldn't that be great to spend 4 days around 4th of July backpacking in Yosemite with my girlfriend or my friends or my grandchildren? And then you can come on Right on Track and say, well, okay, great. What is a great 4-day itinerary? And everybody is a little different. So you could say, well, I think I could do maybe 5-6 miles a day. And a group of young friends in really good shape, they'll say, bring it on. I think 15 miles is not a problem. Give me a great loop of like 45 miles, right, that I could do in 4 days. So you can find a very well detailed and laid out itinerary that is going to tell you day by day, step by step, here's what it looks like. You're going to drive over here, leave your car, start at this trailhead. First day, you're going to 4 hours into it. Here's the river where you are going to refuel. By the way, great lunch spot. And then you continue here, and here is your first campsite, right? And
so it's like a hiking buddy that you never had, almost, that you go and sharing that knowledge and say, okay, I've been there and this is what you do.
Yeah, so part of it is just an itinerary that actually tells you how it goes and gives you, a lot of details around that. And the second part of it, good maps and guidebooks, which are going to be generated around the trip that you want. And the third thing is all the gear. So gear is a different story. One of the big barriers to this is gear, and the barrier in 2 ways. Number one, it's actually expensive. Good gear, it will cost you, well north of $1,000 to put this together. And unless you do this often, that's quite a bit of an expense. Second thing is you actually have no idea what gear you need. That is something that is, not that easy to put together, and it comes with experience. So we know all of that. So we prepackage complete gear lists from soup to nuts, from tents to backpacks to cooking equipment to sleeping mats to everything. And you can rent them for 3 days, 4 days, 5 days, 7 days.
All on your website.
We'll provide you with that. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's a really important third piece. The fourth piece is the food, the meals. Actually, making meals, what to bring, how to cook, how to balance sort of nutritious diet, weight, right? That's a whole different science in and of itself.
Do you prefer kind of like a dried food like prepared that you just stick into water or is it like proper meals that you're making? Because I know that people who are doing this sort of trips, then when they coming back, they're just sick of the kind of this uh, freeze dried or whatever you call it food, which is not the
There is
greatest. What?
so I've been on both sides of that. Yeah, I've tried
Hmm.
many different things in these 3 years. Freeze dry could actually be quite decent.
Hmm.
Um, but it has limitations. It's also quite expensive. And then on the other spectrum, you could cook delicious meals on the trail. Delicious. It
Yeah.
makes your evening even more romantic and even more memorable. We are creating complete daily meal packs. You could say I'm going out for five
Hmm.
days, and I'm gonna say here is a 5 day meal plan, which has breakfast,
Yes.
lunch, dinner, snacks, everything that you need, balance for calories and whatnot. You could
Wow.
switch things that you like or you don't like. There's quite a bit of choices. And there's two types of meals, if you will. One is based on freeze dry. If you really, really, really don't want to cook, you just want to boil some water and pour it over. You could
Yep.
have complete meals based on that. If you want to actually cook on the trail, then there is a whole set of recipes and the meal kit around that.
Yeah, but I
That's
presume you need to carry the gear to actually do the cooking, right? You need to have a cooker with you and all the other stuff, which kind of
included. So
adds to the difficulty. Is it
it's
true?
included. It's included. So all the cooking equipment that you need is included in the gear list.
Oh
So
yeah, but I mean you have to carry that with you.
you carry everything. That's the
Yeah,
thing, right?
so I'm saying like so I suppose this is a question for you. Would you say that people who are just starting and they're, less fit, that freeze dry is probably more suitable uh because
No,
they don't
no,
have to carry all the gear to actually prepare the meal.
actually, no. The weight difference between two meals will be non-essential, like probably less than a pound. In both
Okay.
cases, you're gonna get
Really?
extremely like calorie dense food.
Hmm.
And you're gonna get cooking equipment. In any case, you have to carry something that is gonna boil water. So the
Yes.
difference between the weight of stuff you need to boil water and weights of stuff that you need to also cook, it's negligible. It's gonna be, like I said, less than a pound altogether.
Oh wow.
Oh, it's a preference, and I actually would recommend people to cook on a trail. It's wonderful, romantic, and very satisfying in many ways. So this is like the fourth piece, right?
That's
So
for sure.
between the itineraries
Hmm.
and the map and the gear and the food, you have almost everything. The remaining pieces is a lot of information about trail, things like where to get your permit, what are the regulations, everything that
Hmm.
you need to know. And fourth one is kind of a support/coaching. You
Yes.
have somebody that you can ask questions. You have somebody that you can go over your gear list. You have somebody who can actually show you how to set up this equipment. And
Uh,
the standard pieces of equipment that we add to every trip is a satellite communicator.
mhm.
That you take with you. Part of it is for security reasons and safety.
Yes.
It happens, you press the red button,
Mhm.
and it connects you to the rescuers. But the other part of it is that you actually have a support from our crew on the other line. So if you have questions from the wilderness, then you can communicate, and
Yes.
we'll help provide those
Oh,
answers.
that's great. Listen, Victoria, and is it all happening kind of like online and through the mail, or you actually can meet physical people and I'm thinking now about, for example, like you mentioned, going through the list of your gear. Is it kind of like all remote, or is it like someone physically looks at your gear and?
So we'll see how this thing scales, but at least for the pilot this year, we are focusing
Hmm.
specifically on the one geography, which is a Sierra Nevada, and we're
Hmm.
doing it largely so that we can hand deliver the deer. gear.
Hmm.
So there is a drop off that happens in the physical world. We're going to meet
Yes.
people along several locations which are access points to Bay Area or Sierra Nevada. We'll hand deliver the gear. We'll set up an appointment around it where we'll go over gears, answer your questions. Set up that tent on the lawn if you want to see how that works.
Mm.
Uh, and
Yes.
make sure that you're well ready. But in addition to that, planning this trip is a long process. We anticipate people like booking these trips well in advance, weeks and months in advance, and then working to prepare. And fitness plans is a part of it, and research of different kinds is a part of it. So we anticipate providing a lot of remote support through emails, from
Right.
phone calls if necessary, every step of the way.
Right, right. In terms of the fitness preparation, and in terms of like
Mhm.
what would you say to anyone who wants to start trying? Where to start? Because you said that obviously gym didn't work for you. So
Yeah, I
what
think
would be your
it's a very
advice?
different thing. So I would say that the place to start are enjoy local hikes on local trails. Day
Right.
hiking, getting out, going for a trail run if that's your thing, or just going for a short hike. It is so accessible. Some people live in a flat country, some people live on the hills, but everybody has access to hiking. It could be urban hiking, it could be rural hiking, it could be mountain hiking. You could go to the near park. That is to me the place to start, and you will start enjoying the process, and then the fitness kind of builds along the way. You want to go faster, right? You want to go longer.
Mm.
My very first attempt to climb the local hill, it was a 6 mile round trip, 3 miles up and 3 miles down. It took me
Yeah.
7 hours, 7 hours.
Right.
I'm gonna die on that freaking hill. And now it's 1 hour up, 45 minutes down. Um,
Yes.
and it's just almost like run up, run down type of experience. It all comes.
Do you prefer to go up or you prefer go down? Which one you find easier? Which what you prefer?
People who do this a lot, they assume that going down is easier than going up. Now, I will say this, is that I like having gravity on my side. I'm not going to lie about
Mm.
that. Going down is a lot easier and a lot faster for me than going up. In terms of what I like both,
Yeah.
I like both. They present different
Yeah.
challenges. Once you get in the right mindset, that's a big part, learning to put yourself in the right mindset. And you understand with every step you get higher and the views get deeper, right? And accomplishment get more pronounced and more empowering. You enjoy these uh,
Yeah.
long excruciating sessions.
The reason I ask about this is because I think there are two types of people. Like you said, I'm the one who prefer to go up than down,
Mhm.
and I was wondering why. I think that first of all, I find like a mechanically as a body mechanics kind of easier to uh, kind of climb rather than make sure I'm not going too fast and fight the gravity. And then the
Mhm.
second thing is kind of like a sense of achievement, right? You're going up and using your body and your muscles to go up while you're going down. You're just like, I go down. I just need to, make sure I'm not go too fast. It's like, so it might be easier, but some people around like me say like, yeah, I much prefer to go up. That you go up, hike up, and ideally, magically be lifted by a helicopter from the top of the mountain.
Well, I think some of these descents are kind of a soul crushing because it's
Yeah,
like you just work so hard to get up there. It's like now I'm going down. I'm losing all that hard work. I'm losing all of that accomplishment, right? Because I know I
yeah,
have to go right back up at the next the next pass. And it's like, why are God, why are you doing this to me? But it's all
exactly.
parts and parcels of the whole thing.
Yeah. Listen, and in terms of one of the things that I was really wanting to ask you, in terms of boots or shoes or hiking boots, what would be your advice? Because again,
Mhm.
as far simplifying that hugely, I see that right now there are like two really types. One boots that are really heavy on the hard sole, and like scarpas and all these things. And then you have this trend of the minimalistic
Yes.
hiking boots that are very light and flexible. And obviously there is like a sea of articles on the internet that says like, no, the five fingers, the minimalistic, they're good, they're bad, they're gonna cause you injury. No, this is how the foot should look like, how the foot should work on. And what's your view on that, and what would you recommend for people?
So here's my view. There's really, there's three classes of shoe wear. You could do big boot, right? And then those things are designed to give you maximum stability. They encompass your ankle. They give you just a lot of support. And then all the way on the other side, you have something like five fingers. You have some people hike in sandals, right? You have people who hike PCT, IT, CDT in sandals. Completely minimalistic. I've met somebody on a John Muir Trail who was hiking barefoot.
Wow.
And so there is that, fairly extreme crowd. And then right in the middle, there are trail runners, which are very lightweight, mountain-worthy, usually non-waterproof shoes. So I'm squarely in the middle. So trail runner is my jam, and I have converted many people from boots to trail runners. Not so much, sandal is fairly extreme. But the usual dilemma is, and this endless threads on the internet, which is boots versus trail runners. I'm convinced that trail runners is a way to go. There is almost no exception to that. They are lightweight. They provide minimal support to your ankle, but what they allow you to do is they allow ankle to do its job. When I started backpacking, I wasn't just out of shape. None of my body parts were really used to do any of the real work. And so I struggled a lot. I had a fair amount of injuries. And one of the things I was doing a lot is rolling my ankles.
Right.
And the initial reaction to rolling your ankles to say, well, I need a lot of support to prevent that from happening. And after you roll your ankle, it takes a long time to recover. It takes good, 6 months until it becomes fully stable. And you want to put in shoes that are going to, all encompass and provide that support. And what I've learned the hard way, and what I substantiate by research later on, I think a lot of people don't realize, is that if they put the big boot around, which deprives ankle from its natural ability to be the stabilizer, where does this all pressure go to? It goes to your knee.
Ha! Yes.
Something needs to absorb that pressure. Now, ankles are designed to do that. If you wear minimalistic shoes, over time you train your ankle to be strong and adaptable and absorb all that balance. If you do not allow your ankle to do that, it's going to go to the next joint, which is your knee. Now, you do not want to put that pressure on your knee. And, between knee eventually given in versus ankle, you definitely want to keep it an ankle. You can continue, and you could put a knee brace. Now, if you actually tie down your ankle and you put your knee brace, what absorbs all that?
It goes to your hip.
It goes up, right? So it's going to be, where it's going to go.
It goes up the chain. It's go to your hip,
Exactly, goes to your hip. You don't want that to happen. So to me, minimalistic shoes, non-waterproof. That's another one. Waterproof, non-waterproof.
Yes.
A lot of people like in the wet environments, when you have a lot of river crossing, they will take non-waterproof boots because it allows them to jump over rivers or creeks, right, or hop from a boulder to a boulder. I'm in a completely different camp. I'm wearing exclusively non-waterproof shoes. I will forge every river that I can. I'll enjoy my cold feet in every creek that I can. I let it breathe. I let it dry, and wet feet doesn't bother me, in the least. I kind of embrace it and enjoy it.
Okay, so there's a few things I want to talk to you now. So first off, on the subject of boots, and this is
Mhm.
exactly what I experienced firsthand with wearing those heavy boots. That all of a sudden I developed knee pain, and I
Mhm.
was like for years and years wondering like what is up with that knee. And I was at the physio and one physio and second physio, and they were all looking at the boots, and like nobody, and like you exactly say, this is where your ankle becomes dysfunctional and it cannot do its job.
Mhm.
However, like in my case, what was funny, it was only one knee for some reason.
Mhm.
The other knee was like, obviously the same boots on both my feet, but one knee was developing this problem while other didn't. So
Mhm.
that probably took me a while to figure that out. Was that something that you're experienced, that just only one knee is having a problem in the case of the
I
boots?
I do have bigger problem on one knee than another. Part of it is because I actually had a knee injury and had my meniscus repaired. But the other
Yes.
thing is during that fateful John Muir Trail trip, there was a lot of adventures, and some of them were anticipated and some not, and some were voluntary and some none in the list. Uh,
As usual.
and I did roll my ankle, and I rolled my
Yeah.
ankle badly, and I rolled it twice. I rolled it on beginning of the third day, and it looked bad, and I got off the trail, and I thought my John Muir Trail, was done, was devastated. But I made my way to the nearest emergency room in Mama's Lakes, and they
Yes.
looked at it and did an X-ray. It wasn't broken, so I slept on it, tied it up, and climbed right back and rejoined my party and continued. And
Oh.
7 days later, just when I thought that it started to heal, I re-injured it again. And
Uh,
and it was bad and ugly. And I thought for sure I'm done. And I had to exit the trail one more time, make my way to the second emergency room to Fresno, kind of rinse, repeat. Get some painkillers, wrap it up, go back, climb, rejoin my friends, and finish the trail. So I ended up walking like 155 miles on a sprained ankle,
oh
uh,
God.
and and that did have lasting effect. And the effect that it had is that I put on the brace, right? So I put on the
Right.
brace, and I put on the boots, and so the ankle opposite to the excuse me, the knee on the leg opposite to the one, it took all the heat, right? I was limping,
Ah,
so
yes.
the pressure was put on the other foot, and that kind of devastated my other ankle for other knee for a while.
That's very informative, Victoria. That's very very informative and important. So now on the second subject on the boots, waterproof and non-waterproof.
Yeah.
Um, does it have to do anything with the climate? Because obviously, I don't know, maybe not, maybe it's not obvious, but I'm imagining those trails, the sun is shining, it's hot and nice, and having a crossing through the river and feel the cold water on your feet can be very nice, and even good for cooling your body.
It does.
However, if you're hiking in lashing rain and wind, and you're going through the grassy field that is all wet, and your feet become wet after minute 5 of your hike,
Mhm.
I don't think it's gonna end up well. So would you caveat that you need to pay attention to the weather,
Well,
or would you say like you just need to get tougher?
I would say that in both scenarios that you described, the answer is still the same for a principal reason. In both cases, you want non-waterproof shoes. And the main reason for it is that if your feet are going to get wet anyways, and they're always going to get wet in a wet environment, because everything is relative and waterproof is relative as well, right?
Hmm.
No waterproof shoes can really stand up to terribly abusive wet climate. They are going to get wet, but the problem is that once they get wet they don't dry and they don't breathe. So you're carrying more weight, you are not letting your feet breathe, and you're not letting your shoes dry. And it offers no advantages whatsoever over shoes that is actually designed to get wet, designed to dry quickly, and designed to let your feet breathe. I have a
Yeah.
really good illustration to the latest scenario, which is very recent. Over Christmas break this year, I had an amazing experience backpacking in high mountains of Peru.
Yes.
There is a so-called Assam Gate Trail, which circumnavigates a monstrous 6.5 kilometer high Assam Gate Mountain. That's about 21,000 feet. And there is a high trail that goes somewhere around 5,000 meters, right, between 16 and 17,000 feet. And it's about 45 miles, and you cover 6 or 7 high passes. Absolutely incredible land. The typical hiking season is from like March through October. When it's
Yes.
summer here, it's winter there, and their winter is dry. But when it's winter here, it's summer there, and summer is very wet. And
Yes.
so you have for this, 4 days that we were on that trail, it was basically nonstop. From above, we had rain, hail, snow, winds, often several of these things at once. And from below, you have mud, which is what all trails turn into, and water, which is just running off from all
Yes.
the overfilled rivers and creeks and lakes and whatnot. So you're usually walking either in the water or in the mud, and it is pouring from top bottom. So I was wearing my general, typical trail runners,
Yes.
and it was perfect. I could not imagine what a dread it would have been to be wearing some kind of a heavy waterproof boots, seeing it
Yes.
getting wet and heavy, and not being able to dry them up.
Yeah. Well, that's very interesting. I'm not gonna say that I'm convinced to non-waterproofs, but that conversation makes me want to try and see how it goes. It's a little bit kind of counterintuitive because you have your waterproofs on, you have your waterproof jacket and your waterproof trousers, and then notion of being dry here and having wet and cold feet kind of uh, you know seems odd, but perhaps that's something to try and figure it out, because I completely
Well,
agree on the shoes that should be light and let your feet work.
I think the key here is that you actually want to give it a chance to dry. And it is a very significant part of the overall, comfort and experience. And again, breathability. Even when we talk about rain gear,
Yeah.
you need to have
Yes.
it also balanced, right? It also needs to be breathable. We could have
Yes.
things that protect us from the wetness and the rain better, but at the expense of breathability, and we all know
Hmm.
that does not work on the long run. So
Yes.
rain protection is not absolute either. There is nothing that will truly protect you from all-encompassing rain. You're not gonna stay completely dry all the time. So the
Hmm.
question is, how quickly can you dry up when opportunity presents itself?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yes.
for that,
Yeah,
you
exactly.
need
Listen,
good.
one other.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Listen, one other question I have is, um, I would like you to comment on safety issues on those trails, especially on those remote trails and
Mm-hmm.
multi-day uh, treks in the wilderness, sometimes in completely different countries. What are your comments in relation to safety? Both from the side of wild animals and so on, but also from other malicious people, locals, and
Of
so on and
course.
so forth.
So safety should be concern number one, and it starts with research and education. Part of it, you really need to know what you're going to be up against. And, safety includes, not getting hypothermic on a cold and wet night, and essentially being able to protect yourself from range of weather conditions. You need to know precisely what you might be looking at. It might be the terrain and exposure and risk associated with that. And if you don't do your homework and figure out that there is a river that you need to cross and that river is too steep and you don't have the skills or you don't have a good judgment not to get into that river, right? Then you're risking your life. So things like water crossing, things like snow travels, right, and snow bridges, they're all parts and parcels. Part of it is preparedness. Part of it is skills. If you're going to go into snow mountains, then you have to have some technical skills. You need equipment, and you need to know how to use it. Then there is animals, right? Animals in different parts of the world, they're real, and as everything else, you need both education, knowing what to expect and how to behave, and just good judgment call in the field. I had last year was kind of fantastic for me for many reasons. I hiked about 900 miles, and for somebody who did not do a big through hike, that's a big mileage to spend in a wild.
That's huge. It's huge mileage.
And I got lucky to run into several amazing animal encounters. So one of them, I could tell you about a couple. Actually, three are four. Jesus, there's at least four that were like really, really wacky. So one of them, everybody's favorite is a bear. So I very, very literally ran into a black bear. I was in a remote part of the PCT, and I was coming out of this sharp turn into the river crossing, and so as I turned, I almost literally stumbled upon this black bear that was bathing in the river. And the bear was startled, and he jumped out of the river and made a lot of noise. And he jumped on the shore, and he stopped maybe about 20 feet away from me, and studied me intently. And I'm looking at him, and he's looking at me, and then it did just something very cute. It just kind of hid behind the tree, it poked its head outside, like watching me, and obviously. Wasn't confrontational. He was just trying to figure out what's happening and wanting me to go. I snapped a few nice pictures and went on my way.
Wow.
So that was one. The other was I was alone on also fairly remote part of the trail, and suddenly I see something comes from the tree, like whew, something jumped from the tree and landed about, again, maybe 20-25 feet in front of me and kind of froze. And I at it, it's like, oh my gosh, it's a cat. And I'm like, oh, it's a big cat.
Wow.
I'm like, oh,
it's a mountain lion.
And I go, oh, it's a bobcat. No, it's too big for a bobcat. It's like a mountain lion. No, it's so small.
Oh my God.
It was a baby. No, it was a baby mountain lion. It still had, it was a few months old.
Right.
It kind of jumped out of the tree and got startled by me and just kind of froze. And it froze and looks at me, and I froze and I look at them. And then I'm thinking, where's mom?
Yes, exactly. Well, exactly. I heard that when you're hiking in the mountain lion country, you might not see mountain lion, but damn sure mountain lions see you.
That is for damn sure. I got lucky to see 3 mountain lions last year, but that was wow. And so 30 minutes later, it just jumped right back into this tree. And and I'm like, okay, the coast is here. And then I'm walking under that tree and I'm thinking, please, please, mom, wherever you are, I didn't harm your baby. You have no interest in me. So there. And then one time in February, I was in Yellowstone, and it was the winter Yellowstone, and I went out on the skis. And it's a unique experience to try to get around, winter mile, Yellowstone on the ski. And I was coming off another turn, and right in the middle of this was a giant bison.
Whoa!
And, one thing that they teach you in Yellowstone is that bisons are everywhere. So you in a car, don't come within a few feet from a bison.
Yes.
if there is no physical object between you and them, and then all of a sudden, like, oh man, here it is. It's huge. What do I do? Yeah, so something like that. The weirdest of them, what was the absolute weirdest? The weirdest one was in Sierra Nevada last year, where I was in a remote canyon. All these things I was solo. So I just, I don't know, lucky me, I guess. I was sitting down the canyon. I needed to stop somewhere for a night, and then I hear just a weird noise. There is a ringing of a bell.
Yes.
And it's spooky because you just don't expect it.
Yes, like, okay, exactly.
So it's getting dark. I'm proceeding very cautiously. And in this clearing, I find like 3 abandoned horses. There's clearly no people. There is nobody. I don't know if they're wild or what, but they're out there, and one of them has this bell right on its neck.
Huh. Wow.
I'm like, okay. And I'm animal person, but I'm not horse person. So I don't really know what to do with horses. So I said, okay, guys, nice to see you. And I moved on my way while horses moved behind me. Well, eventually I settled for the night and I put up my tent. And that damn horse would go by me all night long. And it would ring its bell, wake up, and I would afraid that the thing will step on me, and didn't know what to do. So that was like weird. I would yell at it to go away, and it would go away and come back in 5 minutes.
Wow. That's and I guess these are sort of the adventures that there's only one way to experience that.
Oh what a memory it creates. Yeah.
That's awesome. So what's next for you? What are your next plans? Where are you going next?
So, still keeping, the work-life balance and having to do little trips, while I'm still, doing a lot of things full time this year. I have a few exciting things. I'm going to spend 5 days backpacking in Utah, Gran Escalante, in April. Mm-hmm. I am really excited about 8-day expedition to Alaska, Brooks Range, in June.
Yes. Oh, Brooks Range.
Yes.
Wow. And you're going there also in your non-waterproof shoes.
Oh yes, of course.
Wow. Wow. That kind of Victoria, that kind of convince me to non-waterproof shoes. Like, I something in the back of my head just says like, Tommy, you need to toughen up.
No, you're gonna love it, especially if you use the waterproof, boots or trail runners. You're gonna absolutely love it. And then in August, I am planning to spend the week backpacking in Karelia, which is it's like between northern Russia and southern Finland. Very, very beautiful.
Wow.
Remote land. Yeah.
But also cold, right? It's gonna what temperatures you're expecting there?
Oh no, it's gonna be beautiful. End of August, it's gonna be just a beautiful summer. Berries, mushrooms, fishing. Oh, that's gonna be great. And then speaking of like really big projects, I really hope my big hope and training is next year. I want to take sabbatical in the summertime and hike PCT.
Wow. Yeah. Well. Listen, I wish you all the success, and this is fantastic journey that you just described. Just for our listeners, would you mind say it again? Where to find you and how to get to Right on Track and just for
absolutely. So we're on the web at rightontrack.com, track TREK. We're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're on Twitter, and you can always reach me at victoria@rightontrack.com.
That's perfect, Victoria. Is there anything else that we didn't cover but you wish we did?
No, I really enjoyed our conversation. Thank you so much for having me on your show. And once April rolls around, please check our website.
We absolutely will, and let's stay in touch, and maybe we'll do it again. Victoria, thank you very much. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for having me.